let us all do we can to build a better future. Let's move on now to our next segment. Big tech CEOs are on Capitol Hill. So let's play this first video. Again, this is a link from RT America. Again, shh, don't tell Rachel Maddow.
I want to start.
She might crap her pants. Let's go ahead and play that first video.
I want to start by asking all three of you if your platform bears some responsibility for disseminating disinformation related to the election and the Stop the Steal movement that led to the attack on the Capitol. Just a yes or no answer. Mr. Zuckerberg.
Chairman, I think our responsibility is to build systems that can help.
Mr. Zuckerberg, I just want a yes or no answer, okay? Yes or no? Do you bear some responsibility for what happened?
Congressman, our responsibility is to make sure that we build effective systems to help fight the spread of this.
The is not to answer the question. Mr. Pichai, yes or no?
We always feel a deep sense of responsibility, but I think we worked hard. This election effort was one of our most substantive efforts.
Is that a yes or a no?
Congressman, it's a complex question.
Okay, we'll move on. Mr. Dorsey.
Yes, but you also have to take into consideration a broader ecosystem. It's not just about the technology platforms we use.
Okay, so that was Zuckerberg, Piachi, and Dorsey. Again, the Zuck is in charge of good old Facebook. Dorsey, Twitter. Piachi is in charge of Google's parent company, Alphabet. So, you know, it's very interesting seeing all those individuals up there. And basically, the Democrats are, you know, really wanting to ask them, well, who's in charge of the disinformation and all this fake news that we're seeing on social media, and what they're doing to make sure things are all set up and secure. So Congress has not enacted any legislation, this is from the article, to regulate these companies since it began regularly summoning the Silicon Valley giants to Washington during the Trump years, and these hearings have often done little but generate base-pleasing partisan sound bites. Both parties had their share of political gripes with the CEOs ahead of Thursday's House Energy and Commerce Committee hearing, but the session also came amid the growing possibility that these tech giants may soon face government regulation. So the focus of Thursday's hearing, however, was disinformation, and the Democrats in charge of the committee wasted little time in accusing all three executives of allowing conspiracy theories and anti-establishment narratives to spread on their platforms. Democrats focused their arguments around the Capitol Hill riots of January 6th, and some blamed the platforms for allowing users to post content doubting the results of the 2020 election and pro-Trump QAnon theories, as well as anti-vaccine content and posts from COVID deniers. And again, look, there's only so much that people can do to really like control another person's opinion. You know, I can have an opinion, Daniel can have an opinion, but what worries me is that this is going to open the gates for more censorship and more people being deplatformed. When Donald Trump was removed from Twitter, that opened the floodgates for so much terribleness to happen. Take, for example, the fact that, number one, you have so many content creators right now at risk of being deplatformed, demonetized, shadow banned on YouTube.
See,
right,
here's the thing that this is, people are saying, I think very well, that this is just not a good question to ask to really get to the heart of the matter.
Yeah. Because
they're going to dance around, like, you need a very specific question. Like, okay, here's like, I'm going to go actually take a version of what E. Heller put out there. If you have someone on your platform who is spreading conspiracy theories, is it different if you are not really moderating besides the legal minimum, or if you are actively organizing, such as what YouTube does, the rankings of these people? So, yeah, so effectively, like, you know, when we talked about before, like a huge thing that really caused a lot of these echo chambers on Facebook specifically, which is the one I'm most familiar with, is that they grouped everyone together into like-minded groups. So, you know, oh, the liberals go here, socialists go here, the Republicans go here, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That made it easier for Facebook to sell advertising to advertisers. That's a way of grouping people together. They are grouped together in like-minded pods. That's why your Facebook feed has a lot of very similar thinking people than you most of the time. And that leads to these people having these thoughts that allows these conspiracy theories to bounce around in that echo chamber much more effectively. And then conspiracy theories run amok more. Like a question that's sort of based in that sort of an idea of tying the activity and the reach and the power and the control that's used by these social media companies perhaps would do a lot better than just saying a generalized question with a yes or no answer, knowing they're not going to answer in a yes or no fashion. But these people, for the most part, don't know what they're talking about because they don't even have a cell phone themselves.
Yeah.
So
I also want to point this out too. Look, I'm concerned that Congress is asking Facebook, Twitter, Google, and all these other large tech giants, all these large social media platforms to be publishers now. Because the thing is, look, I have said this on the show. I am for free speech, which means I don't want to see any kind of libertarian content, Republican content, Democrat content, socialist content, communist content, green content, independent content to be taken down. I believe that ideas need to be shared and people need to speak out. I don't believe in echo chambers. I don't believe in safe spaces. I think they're a waste of time. But it looks like we're on this pathway of creating echo chambers. And YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and all these other platforms are private companies. But the minute they start deplatforming and censoring people, they're acting like publishers then. And by doing that, it will be a death blow to independent media, to all your favorite content creators, not just here in Hard Lens Media, not just other independent media outlets, but other genres, other content creators will also be put on that chopping block. Because who's to say that at the end of the day, the average person who chooses to do something on social media, they're at risk of being censored and silenced more so than the large companies that are now starting to worm their way into our backyard. It wasn't too long ago where you had late night comedians or corporate media laughing and mocking at content creators on YouTube or Twitter or on Instagram. And now they've moved in and they're completely protected. They're completely safe from spewing misinformation. And corporate media has done this in the past. But yet we see nothing from Facebook or Twitter unless it goes up against the neoliberal narrative. Case in point, we cannot forget two articles that should always be remembered. Number one, the article of the New York Post sharing that Hunter Biden story, right? And again, anyone that was sharing it on Twitter or Facebook, that article was hidden. And again, the New York Post is a large media outlet. So even these large media outlets got to be careful now. But on the other hand, too, let's not forget articles from the gray zone that were silenced, that were completely shut off, or anything from RT America as they're deemed as a warning. And even Case Study QB, who uploads content and clips from corporate media, his Twitter account is deemed, well, you got to agree to view this content. Yeah. There's nothing controversial on his page. It's not an OnlyFans Twitter account. It's about corporate news. Is corporate news now offensive if somebody else shares it, if they're not with corporate media? So this is the danger of censorship. And when Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram start acting like publishers, we got to have free speech and we have to look at other alternatives. Case in point for Rockfin, case in point for Odyssey. This is a danger. Daniel.
Yeah, I just want to say two things. First, he's not Lainey Peterson, for everyone that saw that. But right there, yeah. So the other thing about this is that we need to be very careful about where we're moving in this direction. I'm very worried about what Congress is going to do, how they're going to do it. There's a lot of lobbyists that are very much, paid by social media to do this. So I'm worried about what we're going to get out of this. I'm worried that we're going to have safe harbors in the same online. But it just seems like this is not going to end well for us, that we are watching people that don't know how social media works being answered by people that don't want to answer the question, who are going to be using lobbyists as input to just cancel more people, to stop more things. And I want to really bring up what I think is very important that does not get talked about at all. The reason that conspiracy theories run amok is because no one trusts mainstream media. It's that simple. It's always that simple. If there's trust in media, people will not go and to find enclaves of people that have a different point of view. I mean, they exist, but it wouldn't be widespread. The only reason that any of this is happening is that no one trusts the failing media networks. If they just got their act together, stopped being propagandist locations for people to do whatever they want, and people took them seriously. You know, an era that didn't have a lot of conspiracy theorists, that didn't have a lot of airtime? Walter Cronkite's era. Whether you agree or disagree, he was well trusted, and people trusted him to tell the news. That's not the case today. That's not how this works today. So this is a vacuum that is being filled. That's all it is. It's just physics. And they're acting like, well, why are these people invasively? No, it's because of your failure. It's because people don't believe in the government. It's because people don't believe in anything because it keeps failing them. And so then they look for alternate sources. And sometimes they find great sources that do tell the news. Other times, it's conspiracy theories. I don't blame them for going down a path when a more reasonable path has been blocked.
The fact that we are still in this situation right now should give everyone a heads up about what it means for the long run for content creators. Daniel, can you just remind all of our viewers and subscribers the favoritism that YouTube, just this point, YouTube, which is owned by Google, which is owned by Alphabet, the favoritism that they have for corporate media over independent media?
So last I checked, 75% of suggested news videos go to like 4 channels: ABC, NBC, CNN, Fox, and then a couple of the others that are there as well. CBS, it's a great example of how the channels should be growing. If you look at Rising, like, I know a lot of people don't like, some people, you know, whatever, it doesn't matter. They're under the aegis of a corporate outlet. So their views and their growth is not hindered by the algorithm. So every day they're able to keep growing their subscriber base, their view count base every single day. We're not afforded that. If you have taken a look at the growth rate of the subscriptions of independent left-wing media, it's basically halted. It's only really exists if you do a story that everyone's looking for and you're the first one to do it, or if you're doing collaborations. Organic growth is pretty much dead. If you want to find Hard Lens Media, you have to know about Hard Lens Media first. It used to be the other way around. And if you look at some of our growth earlier on, that's what happened. We did good coverage, and so therefore we were rewarded. We would do a video over here, it would get 20,000, 30,000 views a pop. That's not the case anymore. Now we're struggling to break 1,000.
Yeah, and it's a very real thing that's not only impacting independent media, but so many other content creators as well. It's going to start looking really scary pretty soon, and it looks like our political establishment is dead set on having social media censor those who will speak out.